feel like I might have my first 16-bit superhero versus because I recently took a look at Batman Returns for the Sega Genesis, which is very different from the acclaimed Batman Returns for Super Nintendo, which Konami developed and published. This one was published by Sega for the Genesis, and although it uses some of the Red Triangle Circus Gang motif, and you see Danny DeVito's Penguin and Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, it's not just a scrolling beat-em-up with supersized sprites like the Super Nintendo version of the game is, which I'm much more familiar with. I never played Batman Returns for the Genesis, and I'm very happy that I did. This is a very cool game. It's a little bit more of a vertical platformer than it is just a straight beat 'em up along the way, although you are punching and kicking and doling out all kinds of bat weaponry to take care of bad guys, some of them on motorbikes with skull masks, mostly circus performers like a sword swallower or a fire breather, jack-in-the-box kind of clowns that will come out with machine guns and stuff like that. It's fun to beat them up. They also explode with a pretty cool and satisfying explosion sound, which I thought was pretty funny. And there's some pretty cool animation in this. It's a bunch of different acts, I guess, that are broken up by chapters, and the scenery changes as you're going from act to act. Like you'll be sort of in regular downtown Gotham City, then you'll be in a circus kind of area, you'll be in the sewers, you'll be on a train. Very early on in the game, I'm inside of this house, and everything is slanted. It's like the house is falling over. So I'm crawling up the house diagonally, dealing with bad guys that are popping up out of thin air, as 16-bit bad guys would. But it's all kind of skewed like like the Burton movies were, but also like comic book panels were. And I thought this is a really cool stylistic decision here. It's pretty rad. Now, you do have some cool abilities like the grappling hook, which will allow you to swing or climb up to different areas. A very useful tool, which you use a lot. One of my favorite things about this game, when you pause the game to select one of the items on Batman's utility belt, you actually see the utility belt, and you can select whether you want a little laser, or the bats that will fly out from under Batman's cape, or the heat-seeking batarang, or the smoke grenade that you can throw. Very cool stuff. I did have several different instances where it was a problem determining exactly where I could grapple to, so consequently I died. I died on spikes, I died on icy spikes, I died by falling into icy water, and it was frustrating. But one of the cool things that the game does, it allows you to give yourself 7 lives at the beginning of the game, which I recommend. You can also find extra lives along the way, little bat cowl emblems, and extra health along the way as well. And you'll also pick up lots of power-ups that you will definitely deplete, because you'll use them. But it also starts you off at a fairly forgiving checkpoint, if you still have lives left. If you lose all of your lives, you start at the beginning of the act and have to kind of progress your way back to where you were. But the challenge, I think, is pretty fair. You know, and I've been playing a lot of 16-bit superhero games because I'm obsessed with superheroes and cartridges. I've got the analog Mega SG and the Super NT, so I've been collecting cartridges based on my obsession with superheroes, so I've been filling in the gaps playing all of these 16-bit superhero games. And a lot of them are so difficult that you just give up. You're just like, oh my God, this is like punishment. This one I think is a little bit more fair. There was a Sega Cd version of this title, or a Mega Cd, depending on what part of the world you're watching this from, which added a bunch of elements like 3D driving elements. I didn't play that game. I really want to, because I think this is a pretty damn cool collectible for any Batman fan out there, or any super fan of Batman Returns, which I am. It's one of my favorite Batman movies because of all these really cool elements. Christopher Walken and Danny DeVito is amazing as the Penguin. Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman is awesome. That character is not in this game enough. You could almost make a full game of Batman chasing Catwoman and all kinds of cool stuff. Definitely, it's a little drabber than the Batman Returns game for Super Nintendo, but you know what? I'm going to review that separately, and then I'll do a versus between the two. But I have been impressed with this game. This is a nice departure. It feels different. It moves different. If you're a Batman fan like I am, I think you're going to love this. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.